Welcome back, guys. We are continuing with Chapter 8, Equations and Inequalities. We had Lesson 8.6, the Distributive Property. Should be mostly a review for you. This time we're going to add in variables, and we're going to discuss it in distributing to the different terms inside the parentheses. Okay? So basically what the distributive property is going to tell you is that if you have a number on the outside of parentheses and you're multiplying that, this number has to be distributed to everything on the inside of the inside of the parentheses. So if you have a times parentheses b plus c, what that's saying is that you have to do a times b plus a times c. Okay? Now, example 1 reads 2 parentheses a plus 6. So what you're going to do, that's going to tell you that this 2 has to go to the a, and it has to go to the 6, okay? So you're going to multiply that 2 by each term inside the parentheses. Remember that a is considered a term, and then 6 is considered a term, okay? So you're going to multiply that, so you do 2 times a is just going to give you 2a, and then 2 times 6, which is going to give you 12. The 12 is a positive number, so you use a plus sign between them. So ultimately what you're saying is that 2 parentheses a plus 6 is the same thing as 2a plus 12, okay? You can also do this if there's negative signs inside the parentheses. We have 4 parentheses negative 5c plus 2. Remember that this negative 5c is one term by itself, so that's going to be together, okay? So the 5 and the c go together as one term. So the first term inside the parentheses is negative in this case. So you multiply it the exact same way as you would before. So you're going to take this 4, and it's going to have to go to this negative 5c as well as to the 2, okay? So to solve, you're going to have 4 times the negative 5c. Remember that you want to put the negative 5c in parentheses to separate the multiplication symbol and the negative sign. Because you have a positive and a negative number multiplying together, that's going to give you a negative answer, and you have negative 20c. Then you're going to take that same 4 and you're going to distribute it to the 2. So you're going to say 4 times 2, and it's going to give you 8 for a final answer right down here of negative 20c plus 8. Okay? So we're going to work through a couple of these together. Number 1 reads 7 parentheses n plus 6. Okay? So if we were in class and had the board and everything and all that fun stuff, then I would have you guys take an arrow and draw it from the 7 to everything inside the parentheses. Okay, just to remind you that, hey, I've got to distribute this to everything on the inside. It has to visit everybody's house, if you will, which is totally not what you're supposed to be doing right now. So 7's breaking the rules, okay? So the 7 goes to the n, and so you get a 7n because you're multiplying, and remember there's an understood 1 in front of any variable that's by itself. And then you're going to have your 7 times your 6. This is a positive 7. This is a positive 6. That's what that plus sign is going to represent here. So therefore, this is going to be plus 42. Okay, you're going to box in your answer, and you're done. Number 2 is going to read 8 parentheses 2g minus 5. Okay. This one's going to look a little bit different. We have a number with our variable. Remember that this is one term together. And then our second number is a minus 5. So we're going to treat that like a negative number. Okay? Remember that the 8 has to visit everybody inside the parentheses. Okay? So to do that, we're going to have 8 times 2. It's going to give me 16. I'm going to bring my g. Now I have an 8 times a negative 5. Okay, when we have a positive and a negative number and we're multiplying, that's going to give us a negative answer. So we have a negative 40. And that's really all you're doing. All of these numbers 1 through 15 have a positive number on the outside of the parentheses. You do have to pay attention to the number on the inside of the parentheses, whether or not it's positive or negative, because that's going to determine whether you're adding or subtracting those numbers. All right. Now, for example 3, and for these last problems, they have a negative number on the outside of the parentheses. You're going to treat that the exact same way as we did up here. The only difference is that you're now multiplying by a negative number both times, okay? So for the example, negative 2, parentheses b, minus 4, close parentheses, that 2 has to visit everybody on the inside of the parentheses, okay? So negative 2 times b is going to give you a negative 2b. Then you're going to multiply this negative 2 times a negative 4. Remember that when you're multiplying a negative and a negative together, that's going to give you a positive answer because those two negatives cancel out. So your final answer here is going to read that negative 2 parentheses b minus 4 close parentheses is going to equal negative 2b plus 8, saying that those two statements are the same. Okay, so on our paper, I'm going to work out a couple of these with you. Put a squiggly line here because I'm not finishing numbers 3 through 15, but you will, okay? All right, so number 16 reads negative 7 parentheses x plus 2, okay? So now, again, same as before, this negative 7 here has to go to everything on the inside of the parentheses. So this negative 7 times x is going to give me a negative 7x. And then when we multiply this negative 7, this is a positive 2. So a negative times a positive is going to give me a negative number. And then 7 times 2 is 14. Box your answer in. Looking at number 17. Number 17 reads negative 5 parentheses 4 minus y. Okay, again, whatever's on the outside of the parentheses has to visit everything on the inside. So what looks different about this equation or expression is that the y, our variable, is over on the far right side instead of over on the left. It's fine. It's just going to be in a different spot in our final answer. Okay, don't let that throw you off. So I have a negative 5 times a positive 4. It's going to give me a negative answer, and then 5 times 4 is 20. Now I have a negative 5 times a negative y. Remember that there's that understood 1 right here, so it's like a negative 1y. Okay, so a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. So now I have negative 20 plus 5y. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. Whatever's on the outside of the parentheses has to go to everything on the inside, and we're using multiplication here. Okay? Now, on these last few problems, what you'll do, 18 through 30, you have a negative number on the outside. Don't let this, oh, sorry, never mind. I read that wrong. I thought it was a 10W. So, looking at this, it's a 2-digit number on the outside. You're still just multiplying to the inside, okay? So we have negative 10 to 2W plus 4, okay? All of them, very straightforward, okay? Don't let 28 trip you up because it is a negative 1. So the actual number may not change, but pay attention to your symbols, okay? Just remember your rules for multiplying positive and negative numbers, okay? So you're going to complete numbers 1 through 30. We've done 4 examples on this, and we will check our answers on Friday. Bye, guys.